Hi, hello, good evening, everyone. How are you? You're welcome to Vicky O Show, the Nigeria we want. A little bit of technical issues, but I think we're getting back on track. So I've gone to Nigeria today, dressed in Nigeria fabric, African fabric. So you're welcome. You're welcome. We have a special guest today. I'm so glad to have Professor Sylvester to join us today as a guest panelist. Um, but before we get all the panelists and our guests onto the show, we just would like to appreciate all you, our viewers at home, wherever you are in the world. We want to welcome you to today's show. Today's show is another great topic that we will be discussing. This is the Nigeria we want, not the Nigeria that it is right now, not the Nigeria that we are all complaining about. We love talking about things that are impacting on each and every one of us, how have been, behaving that may be impacting on the way things are over there, or the way you've been behaving that may be impacting. It's easy to point fingers to anyone, to point fingers to Buhari, to point fingers to all the other leaders. But have you checked yourself? What are you doing yourself? That is, you might not be a leader as in the leader of the country, but are you a leader in your own home? And you leading, your wife, your children, you're not doing a great job. You're the one that beats your wife every day. You are the one that ridicule your wife and your children, or you're a woman that ridicules your husband, and you are there pointing finger to the leaders. So our talking about the Nigeria we want is not just about the politics, it's about individuals, how we all come together to contribute to the way things are. Out of us all come out leaders. So we can point fingers as much as we want. If we can say, no, we're not taking this, we don't want this, we can fight and we can stick together and say, yes, we're not taking it. But in as much as we have some of us that are, enjoying the benefit, it's not going to work. And we're allowing them to show off to us, to make us feel inadequate, to make us feel like we've got to worship them. Then we are contributing to the problem as we see them. So today it's another great topic, and I won't go too far into rambling on about it. But I will get Wale Olaiton to come on as the moderator of the Nigeria We Want show. Wale Olaiton, you are welcome, my brother. You're on pause. Let's unmute you. I can't hear you. Can you unmute? I can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much, Dr. Vicky. Happy 50th birthday, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you.
I join, friends, family, fans across the globe, in celebrating you and wishing you all the very best on the 50th, on your 50th birthday. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, on Thursday nights. Yeah, I'm really, really sorry. I had some other issues to attend to.
Exactly. And you put up an award-winning episode, which I would love to actually put up later on. Like I said, there was a post that I put out that I said to you that while you're light, so I thank you for that post. And I will be printing it out and actually framing it and having it on my wall.
That would be a big honor. I was thinking on Wednesday nights. At that time I knew I won't be able to be I won't be able to make the night. At that time I knew 100% that I won't be there. So I was at my desk on Wednesday evening and I was thinking, what can I really do to honor this special lady? Let me just write a few things, and put it on Facebook.
That was so thoughtful of you. I mean, reading through, I was just like, wow, wow, interesting. And you're such a good writer. It was just flowing, reading through, some you just get bored, but with how you just put it all, it was just so fantastic. You're such a
Thank you.
great writer.
Oh,
You're such
thank
a
you.
great writer. So yeah, it was a great night. Yeah, my husband actually thought that we can't just let the day go
Yep.
without marking it.
Yep.
We're still going to have a big event. Hopefully, by the end of COVID, we can't do it until
Yep.
COVID is gone. So, as to allow families and friends around the world to come over and celebrate with us. So, we thought, okay, he thought, no, we got to market. So that was why he called few of my friends, people that he knew that
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the videos. I
yeah.
saw the Alujo guy from
Oh
Nigeria and
yes,
all the
yes,
songs.
yes. It was
That
really
was
good.
it. Yeah, really, really
Quite
good. Yeah.
small, but really, really good. Yeah, I'm still kind of in the cloud, feeling so good about it all. And to top it up, my team from the Global Achievers,
Yeah.
they also came together and said, we're going to have a conference in the honor of your Golden Jubilee. And yes, we had that yesterday. We had speakers from around the world speaking both virtually some live. And we had it here in Melbourne. It was fantastic. Brilliant speakers, all of them. All of them.
Good.
And even my husband that doesn't like speaking in front of audiences, he joined. I mean, I've never seen him that way. I was just like, oh my goodness, I like this. It was quite inspired
Inspired. Yeah.
to be part of it. So greater things will be coming out from here on. But it's been great. And today being the third day, it's not just one day of celebration, 3 days of celebration. Did you know that Africans first came here to Australia in the 1798, I believe?
Oh no.
First Africans.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I was actually asked to be a part of a documentary about our African roots on SBS. The SBS
Okay. The
TV.
SBS television. Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I had to get up very early this morning to go and do the role, which was so fantastic,
Okay.
and it's going to tell us history of um, it's the history of Africans that first came here and how some of them were drafted to go to war in Europe.
Well, so yeah. So is an historical fact that
Yeah,
I'm not aware of that they actually
I wasn't
drafted.
aware.
Yeah, I
I
wasn't,
wasn't
yeah, really
aware,
aware.
and yeah, I can't wait to actually go through the whole.
Yeah.
But one thing I realized, I was actually having this chat with my daughter earlier on, and she said it's
Don't
because
forget the don't forget the other panelists. So
they're not here yet. They're not
they're
here
not
yet.
okay. Okay.
It's only
Okay.
our guest that is here, and I
Is
don't
there?
like
Okay.
holding him. Let me just quickly send messages to um, Elvis. Can you text him, Elvis? I'll send them
Okay.
both messages now.
Uh,
Yes, so we are in front. We were the only one,
okay.
but we're not. So, all right. So, maybe we should just bring the guest panelist and the rest can join us later on. We just want him to be waiting for us.
Yeah.
Elvis being Omo Jaye Jaye, maybe don't go Jaye Jaye.
He will join us soon. Yeah.
He will join us soon. Okay. So before we bring Professor Sylvester on, what's your update so far for this week? as you know, Nigeria with one bad story to another.
Yeah, talking about bad story, I think the major one for me, there was a plane crash yesterday.
Mm,
On the flight was Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atairu, the chief of army
mm,
staff, and on
mm,
some other, about 10 other officers that died in that plane crash. So on the, I saw that first thing this morning, uh,
mm,
Melbourne time. So that's a very sad news, and to think about the implication of that in terms of the fight on Boko Haram and the
mm,
issue of insecurity in the country. Um, I just sincerely pray and send our thoughts and prayers to the families of the deceased, and we
mm,
hope that the country will bounce back from that major setback in terms of fighting insecurity in the country. Um,
mm,
that's an update. The second one also is more of a national issue. Um, During the week, the Attorney General of the Federation, um, Abubakar, you know, uh, Malami, who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria. So he responded to the claim that about 2 weeks ago from the 17 southern governors in
mm.
terms of banning of open grazing in
Listen, yeah.
southern part of Nigeria, and he provided a very comical kind of response to that, and he said that banning open grazing is like banning sales of spare parts um, in another part of Nigeria. So that was really ridiculous, and to even imagine that the the number one law person in the country, the attorney general, could make that
Mm,
comparison in terms of the uh, agitation for banning of open grazing, and for him to even in
Nigeria.
his mind to in any shape or form trying to find any correlation between that and traders in another part of Nigeria that are mostly from Igbo extraction, to make that comparison as like banning open grazing of cattle and whatever is like banning these traders from actually selling spare parts in another part of Nigeria. To me
Mm,
shows a lot of degeneration in terms of where we are as a country.
exactly.
Yes,
Mm,
so I'll keep it just simple for me. These are my two updates.
mm. Thanks for that, Wale. One thing that I saw just a couple of hours ago was our vice president and some other leaders, I think, including the governor of uh, Ondo State, Akeredolu, and a few other ones.
Yep.
They were pictured in, I'm not sure whose office, but one office, kneeling down and praying. There
Okay.
were somebody shared that this is what leaders do. Another person now reshared with his own comment that look at them. These are leaders, these are sons, senior advocates of Nigeria. Most of them they are aware, and they can't come together and put that brilliant heads together and work something out. The person actually made a little joke that
Yeah.
leave God out of all this. You've been praying to God all this while. God is
Yeah.
busy talking to Zhang Chang, the Chinese the Chinese leader. And I pondered on both comments.
Yeah.
And as a Christian myself, I know there are times, I mean, most times every time you've got to give God everything. You've got to talk to God about it. But God is not asking you to just rely on him and not do anything yourself, right? Um, You ask him, you talk to him, but you still need to get up and take some actions. You just don't sit on I'm praying and all is settled. Because if that is the case, God wouldn't have given us this brain that we have.
Mm,
How long will we keep praying? Does it mean God doesn't answer our prayers? No, He answers. But there's something missing in how we're doing it and the results that we are getting. That's just one thought that I wanted to share there.
sure, yeah.
So probably they are both busy. So what do you think? Do I bring a
Yeah,
guest? I
bring it,
mean,
bring, yeah, please. If you could bring in Professor, please.
okay. Hello, welcome, Professor Sylvester Odion. How are you?
Fine. Good evening, all of you there.
Oh, it's evening where you are. Yes,
No,
it's
it's
evening
actually
here
it's
too.
afternoon here. It's afternoon here.
Afternoon where you are. We're
Mm.
evening here. It's 17 past 10 over here. It's
It's
nice to meet you. Welcome to the show, The Nigeria We Want on Vicky O Show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for adding your voice to, what our goal is, the Nigeria that we want. And like I said initially, the show is not to badmouth anyone, it's just to present things as we see them and just share ideas and interact about, instead of filming and getting angry on your own. We come together every week and talk about how things are and how things are supposed to be. So the Nigeria we want is about the vision that I have for Nigeria, the vision that Wale and the other panelists do have for Nigeria. And it's not about the leaders that we have there, it's about individuals, it's about you, it's about me. What am I doing in my own home as a mother in this house? What are you doing as the father, as the head of the family? Are you the one that you know talk anyhow to your family members, to your wife, to your children, and then you turn around and you start blaming Buhari for every bad things that are happening? So it's about us all checking what we are doing and how we're doing things. That is what we tend to do with the Nigeria we want. And I'm very sure Wale, being very meticulous, will have explained to you how we roll on
Mhm.
this show. We tend to have four of us doing this every week, and once in a while we get guest panelists to join us, people like you with brains that can also put some directions into things for us. So I'll pass the baton on to Wale to get the ball rolling. He always so good at putting all these questions together just to get us to think and to put up some solutions the way we see them. So Wale, take over.
Thank you very much for that, and welcome to the program, Professor Sylvester Odion Akhaine. Um, Welcome to the program. And to our global viewers, you're welcome to Vicky O Show, The Nigeria We Want. Today we'll be discussing a very important topic, and is straight to the point. We'll be discussing Nigeria at crossroads, restructure or breakup. What other options are available for Nigeria to survive? So that's what we'll be discussing extensively this evening. And to help us to analyze and answer our questions, we have a very competent and qualified person. We've spoken about restructure. Almost every Nigerian, one way or the other, you ask them, they have opinion on restructure. But we think for us to do justice to this program, we must get a professor of comparative politics from Lagos State University or your campus. And we asked Professor to introduce himself and tell us more about himself, especially around these, invaluable contributions to the pro-democratic movement. But as part of the intro, Professor, had his tertiary studies both in Nigeria and in UK, in terms of his PhD, which he completed at Royal Holloway in the University of London, in 2004. He's an international scholar with over 100, publications, to his name in both local and international journals. He's an author, is editor extraordinary. So he's a man that has been involved in so many areas. So welcome to the program, Professor. And can you just introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us more, especially about that struggle, for Nigeria to return to democratic rule and your involvement in that struggle?
Well, I think you have started it all. Simply just to say that my name is Sylvester Odion Akhaine, Professor of Political Science, Lagos State University. I was lucky, so to say, to be involved in the anti-military struggle in Nigeria at the level of the Campaign for Democracy and the United Action for Democracy. That was in the 1990s, from the time of the annulment of June 12th up to the time of military disengagement in 1999. And with the exit of the military, we've been involved in trying to consolidate and expand the democratic space in Nigeria, in ways that democracy can be meaningful to all of us Nigerians.
Thank you very much, Professor. I think we're having some few technical issues here. Well, have I got there? Elvis, are you there?
Yeah, Wale, I'm here. I'm out on the road.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just come out of a function. But
I can see your bariga.
Yeah, so I'm walking down to where I parked the car.
Okay.
Yeah, but I thought I should just join. Yeah.
Okay, so will you come back in a few minutes and give us your update for the week, or you are ready to go?
I can give you an update straight up, Wale.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
All right, so the updates, my updates relates to the reactions that have been trailing the the meeting the Southern governors had a few. I think it was last week they had that meeting. There have been reports from different quarters admonishing the governors for indulging in such a venture. One of them came from a Fulani professor where he actually said, they should be careful. I've also heard reports of, some highly placed individuals in the Nigerian space there, querying why they should have had such a meeting and that they weren't consulted before undertaking such a task. So, and that sort of worries me. Too many times I've had northern governors having meetings and nobody's ever queried them. So I don't see why anybody should take offense or get angry at the fact that the southern governors have decided to sit together and to take a decision that augurs well for their people.
Exactly.
Something that they hope will provide further security for the people they govern. So I just thought I should mention that. I think
absolutely.
It's worrying when some people within that space think they've got all the powers, they can dictate to everyone. I think we've come to the point where we need to start confronting this evil, not violently, but doing it the way we're doing. And as the governors have rightly said, open grazing is no longer allowed in their spaces. They have a right to do that, and they owe nobody any apology for attempting to protect their people, which is their constitutional duty. Yes.
So thank you very much. Do you remember that the Attorney General, just a very related topic, I mentioned that earlier, the Attorney General actually said that banning of open grazing is as good as banning sales of spare parts in the northern part of Nigeria. And I know we all know that he was referencing, Igbo brothers, selling spare parts in other part of Nigeria. So it was so ridiculous saying that actually banning, open grazing is as good as northern governors banning sales of spare parts in their territories as well. Do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, Wale, and that speaks to the way the mindset these individuals have. I mean, someone, for someone who indulges in the trade of spare parts, you and I know, of course, they will rent a space or buy a shop
Yep.
where they
And they
undertake their
do.
trades. But these other guys, the headsmen, are practically invading people's farms, people's lands. And, well, I've also had of instances where people need to actually take permission from them to access their own properties, their own farmlands. So that analogy, I think, is flawed. It's quite unreasonable for you to compare someone who's actually renting a space and paying legitimately for that space he occupies to some other person who is
Just grab
forcing
it.
himself through,
Mm.
and whether people like it or not, they want to occupy your space. So I think that comparison is quite unreasonable.
Yeah,
It,
absolutely.
it doesn't flow at all. It's
Thank you.
unreasonable.
Thank you very much for that. So before we go straight to our, tonight's topic, I would like to bring in Professor Akhaine here. Professor, what's your take on the 17 Southern governors, their declarations about 2 weeks ago, and all the reactions that followed that declaration, especially the opposing views, like the one like from the Attorney General and some other, groups, mostly from the northern part of Nigeria. What's your take on that, Prof?
I think that it's an interesting development, but let me give a little background.
Okay.
The population in the southern part of the country have been expecting the governors from the southern part of the country to be proactive on the question of insecurity, and the occupation of lands by Fulani bandits, in the country. But what has happened is that the people were now resorting to self-help on their own.
Mm.
They are well of the Sunday Igboho phenomenon in the southwest, in the southeast. The IPOB elements have set up the Eastern Security Network, usurping the role that state government ought to play. I think it's against that background they banded together for the first time, to address the issue squarely. And the decision they took in Asaba, which is now referred to as the Asaba Declaration,
Yep.
it's quite popular with the population in this part of the country. And I think that the reaction from elements from the northern part of the country, has been quite laughable, and some have described it as preposterous, because it's like standing logic, upside down. Exactly what they have done. You listen to somebody like Professor Yusuf Usman, you ask yourself, how was he made a professor? Or you listen to the Attorney General of the country, Malami, and you ask yourself, who made him a son, a senior advocate of Nigeria? So, like a colleague over there, your partner
You
said
missed
there,
Elvis Nwachukwu.
what Elvis just said, describe a particular mindset. And that mindset, is wrapped around a phenomenon we call state-nation, phenomenon. That state-nation phenomenon is when in a multinational entity, you have a tiny minority mainstreaming its own preferences over the rest of the country. That is exactly what you've seen, being played out. And I think that Nigerians are not going to accept that. And, the time for lethargy, is gone, and we have to be proactive, which is why your topic today is germane, restructuring Nigeria, and of course the vision of Vicky O Show, where you have to, one of the objectives is to, articulate a new vision, for Nigeria that we need.
Thank you very much. And Vicky and Elvis, so along the line as we having this discussion, please feel free to put, if you have any question comes to mind outside what I've planned, please feel free to pause and put your that question directly to Prof. Yeah. And yeah, so I will go straight to the first question to Prof. And what I really want Prof to do, I will put my first question, to Prof. Okay. In recent years, many political analysts and commentators have argued that a fundamental political restructuring of the Nigerian Federation is an unavoidable step for Nigeria to survive. Can you explain to our viewers what restructuring means in Nigeria's political context? Like, we know that is a word that from 1999 is being thrown around, So if you, as a professor, you want to break it down to politics 101, how will you explain it to people what we are actually talking about in terms of restructuring in Nigeria?
Well, it may be in two short sentences. Restructuring is about change. And two, restructuring is about expanding the autonomous space, of the peoples of Nigeria in ways that they can unleash their creativity, and of course, achieve development. That is basically what restructuring is all about. Change, expanding the autonomous space where they can unleash their productivity, their skills, and achieve the goal of development. That is basically what restructuring is all about. Even though, other actors in the Nigerian political space, try to make a controversy out of it in terms of, saying that we do not agree on what restructuring is all about. And anybody who says that, is living a lie. Nigerians know what we mean by restructuring. Maybe I should advance it further. I just try to do.
Yeah, please advance, Prof.
I just give those two.
So you said it's about change.
Yeah.
And you said it's about expanding autonomous space. Can you expand on that, expanding on autonomous space for us, what that really entails?
Yes, I think the point is that Nigeria enter independence on the basis of a federal constitution. And federalism, there are two elements when you want to understand federalism. The first element is the demographic. That is people coming together, to sign a covenant on how they want to live together. And when you agree, then a second element follows. That second element is what I call constitutional scaffolding. That agreement has to be, compacted into a constitution where you define the principles, where you define powers and all of that. So we had that, at independence. Between 1960 and 1966, that was what was operational in the country. But after the first military coup, January 15, which we are all familiar with, the incursion of the military atomized the federal essence of the Nigerian state. It was no longer federal, it was now centralization. And some will say over-centralization. And the cluster of freedoms, which is actually the autonomy that the regions enjoyed in terms of, raising revenue and, giving a portion of that revenue to the center in terms of, running their own infrastructures. All of those things have been taken away by the federal, the central authorities, so what that has done is that it has robbed, the state government in Nigeria. They were region then, and the creation of states, of course, further again atomize, that autonomy of the regions, because you now have states that you cannot, squarely define in terms of, proximity either to the people or some kind of criteria that are reasonable. You know, why, for instance, a state like Bender State was divided into two. It was then a region, a single region. You then have Delta and Edo. When they were Bender State, they had forged a common identity, you know, and they were, you know, expressing certain cultural values that were identifiable to them. So you divide that state, and you ask yourself, on what basis? The state was already united by common values. Then you split it into two, you know, and so you then caused further divisions. And the same military government went further and started relocating local government capitals in ways that engender conflicts between people, you know, people who were living together harmoniously, you know, before. That is at that level. So what the military has done essentially is that they have removed, you know, developmental initiative, you know, from the regions, from the states, in ways that everybody goes to Abuja at the end of the month, you know, to ask for some funds to run the states. So that is an abnormality itself. Again, the question about, you know, minimum security or internal security within the states. The governors are the chief security officers of their states, but they don't have control, for example, over police commissioners that are deployed to the states. He or she takes order from the Inspector General Police in Abuja. And so when you talk about maintaining security within the states, you don't really have an overriding power as such. That is one of the deficits of the, you know, current federal, you know, structure. Now the question about derivation, you know, you have your resources, let's say natural mineral resources within the states, then you mine them. You know, you don't have the right to do that. They belong to the exclusive list. So it's only the federal government that can mine them, you know, and probably give you some royalty. And the royalty within the current 1999 Constitution, as you know well, is just 30%, you know, derivation, you know, to the mineral or oil producing, you know, areas within the country. So these are some of the, you know, shortcomings. Beyond that, the Constitution even provide for the federal character principle, you know, in which case it is supposed to ensure some form of social justice, given the plurality of the Nigerian, you know, population, so that federal offices, you know, what I would call distributive offices in terms of access to resources within the country are located on the basis of, you know, the population, so that no part of the country is alienated. This elementary principle within the federal constitution, within the 1999 constitution, is violated by the central authorities. And it is more rabid under the current regime that we have in the country, the Buhari administration, where virtually every, you know, institution of the state, every office that matters is occupied by Fulani. And Nigerians find that, you know, very, very, very abnormal. And of course, an offensive to accessibility. Beyond that, even the deployment of security forces in the country, you know, when you look at the positions, they are occupied by one ethnic group in the country where you have, you know, an estimated 500 ethnic groups. You know, I mean, people will tell you 250. We are not even agreed, but we do know that, you know, we have multiplicity of ethnic groups in this country. So people are generally alienated. But beyond that, you then have, of course, a regime that is also mainstreaming insecurity. And spokesmen of the regime have admitted to the fact that, you know, the insecurity in Nigeria was contrived. You know, and so it has de-empowered quite a lot of people in this country. Everybody is feeling unsafe, and hence, you know, some actions that border on self-help on the part of the population. So these are some of the issues that are there, and which is more of the reason why Nigerians are saying, look, we can't go on this way. We need to revisit, you know, the ground norm, the Constitution. Let us restructure, you know, the Constitution and create a new basis, you know, for harmonious coexistence among Nigerians. And it is interesting to know that even the ruling party, you know, had a restructuring agenda. I'm sure you are familiar with the El-Rufai,
Yeah, look, I will come back to that, Prof.
Okay.
Later, I'll come back to that. I will give Vicky just to respond, to some of these things. Like, some people have labeled the southern governors. They've labeled them as hypocrites. Um, they've said that most of the governors in their states, the devolution of power they talk about, that they themselves they have failed to give that to the local government. They complain about the government at the center, but when we come to their own individual states, a lot of them, most of the councils that I know of, they don't even have elected, you know, um, councillors or elected local government chairmen. They have more like a caretaker committee. What is your take on that? Are some of these governors that are, talking about restructuring and all they talk about, are they hypocrites if they can't really
Well,
practice what they preach?
I think, Wale, in the context in which that allegation was made, I will not want to say they are hypocritical, but I can tell you that there are contradictions within states. There are contradictions within states. Now, when you have a federation, I've made this point severally. When you have a federation, you have a central authority, and you have the component units.
Yep.
It's not a three-tier structure that enters into the federal agreement. It is the people that enter into the federal agreement. Region and the central authority, or the state and the central authority, the unit and the central authority. And so within that context, it means that subsidiarity, which lies with the local government, structures, within the, what I would call the legal competence of the states. The states can create local government, the way they want. If they need 50 within the states, they can create it. If they need 3, they can. And of course, ideally, the state, ought to have a constitution. In the between 1960 and 66, states do have constitution in Nigeria, but not so now. All you have is just the state assembly. So the state constitution in a restructured Nigeria can define the powers of the local government in ways that the state executives cannot, impinge on the rights of the local government authority. The judiciary, of course, will intervene at that level. But the local government that were created were creation of the military. They were arbitrarily created, and they have been legitimized by the sheer inclusion in the constitution. Now you have Kano with about 44 local government, Lagos State 20 local government. These are the structures that they are trying, to reinforce and reify as structures of the Nigerian state. So we must first of all say no to that. That is the point. Now, it is not ideal, for example, for the state governors again to arrogate to themselves arbitrary powers. Even within the extant constitution, as 40 as it is, they must allow the local government some autonomous space to operate, even though, ideally they are supposed to be under, the state government. But they must allow them some space to operate. If they are not doing so, it simply boils down, to the undemocraticness of the governors. That they have also, run the states as fiefdom. So that is a contradiction itself. But you don't have to lump these contradictions, with what is currently happening. If fundamental restructuring of the country, embarking on diversionary measures by accusing the states of also not restructuring. So it's like, not understanding issues quite well.
Thank you. So, Vicky, you've got anything to chip in to what has been discussed so far?
I think with the way Professor had already explained it, it's actually given me more insight into what's been going on. Thank you so much for that. That's why we need someone like you to give us, to fill in the lines for us. And thank you for doing that for us.
Okay, thank you. Elvis, are you still there, brother, or you?
I think it's there. It's just it's
Elvis,
just
are you there?
I'm here, Wally. I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here.
I just want to be sure that you're there.
I'm here. I
Um.
turned off the camera only because I'm driving. Yeah.
Okay. Let me put a question to you, and let me put this question to you. Okay. On 1st of November 2020, while speaking as the guest lecturer at the 50th anniversary of the Center for Historical Documentation, so specifically Governor of the Kebbi State, Governor Kayode Fayemi, said, and I quote, "In essence, our desire to build a more perfect union should be anchored on the principle of devolution of powers, that is, reallocation of powers and resources to the country's federating units. The reasons for this are not far-fetched. First, long years of military rule have produced an over concentration of powers and resources at the center to the detriment of the state. Two, the 1999 Constitution, as has been argued by several observers, was originally put together by the departing military authority and was not a product of sufficient inclusiveness. What do you make of Governor Fayemi's comments? I know he's put a lot of things there. Talk about inclusiveness. He talk about resource allocation. He talk about the fact that the military put up, the current constitution, but he still alluded to the fact that it's really important for us to really restructure as a country. So, what do you make of it, Elvis?
I think that
Wale, look.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello.
Prof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wale. My.
Okay. Go ahead, Elvis.
All right. Yeah. So my take on this, Wale. Look. Well, I'll say. Look. I think I've mentioned this. You know, severally. We've had this conversation even before now. I've always been, I still am an advocate of the fact that we actually need to have a sit down. We need to have a conversation, akin to where if you're gonna if you're gonna live in a house, uh, if you're gonna live in a house with one, two, three people, you need to sit down, have a talk, and agree on the modalities of how you're going to live in that space. It brings, I mean, it highlights the importance of that conversation that we actually need to have. Recall, every single time we have this conversation, I, I never fail to mention the fact that, look, we need to have a discussion on how we're going to live in this house called Nigeria. The 1999 constitution, in my opinion, is actually is a fraud, and the balance, or it favors certain segments of the country at the detriment of other parts of the country. So we actually need to sit down, have a conversation, and review all of these things. Resource allocation. We need to be practicing true federalism as we have it here in Australia. Um, where actual, states take their own decisions and actually contribute to the center. That is the sort of scenario we ideally should have in Nigeria. Allow people or states to take control of their resources, and if and when necessary, contribute to the center. So, the importance of having that conversation cannot be overemphasized. We're living the life we live in Nigeria is a false life. It's not reality, bro. We just have to sit down, have that conversation, and then if people can agree together how this union needs to actually go forward. But for us to keep deceiving ourselves and thinking, oh, the 1999 constitution is, take it or leave it scenario, you keep having this sort of problems you're having right now. You have people agitating the Sunday Igbohos of this world, or is it Goho, the Nnamdi Kanus of this world, and IPOB and Co. We actually need to sit down, have this conversation, tell ourselves the truth, and that's the only way this country can move forward. So the importance of having that conversation cannot be overemphasized. We need to sit down and talk. We need to sit down and agree. Is this system working? Is it not working? What is it in this system that is not working? What is it that's making people unhappy? The whole politics is heated up. It's only a blind man that cannot see what's going on in Nigeria. Either a blind man or a stupid man, or someone who's stupid and blind at the same time. We've come to the point where we actually need to sit down and have this conversation. I know those who benefit from the current status quo will not let it happen. But honestly, there's a saying in Igbo land where if you're holding a child's toy, when you hold it up for God knows how long, your hands begin to ache you bring it down. We're at that point where these guys actually need to bring their hands down and have this uncomfortable conversation that everyone's calling for. I'm glad the entire South are speaking with one voice at this moment. And I know I mentioned this on this program sometimes ago, to say the East, the Southwest, the Middle Belt, and all of these other regions need to come together as one people, as one body, and speak with one voice, and let those who are in positions of authority, or those who believe the rulership of this country is their birthright, and they will keep calling the shots for us forever and ever. Once we come together and start having this sort of conversation like the 17 governors had the other day, then there's a chance that there'll be a way forward. They will listen, and that's where we are now. So that we're going to have that conversation, whether they like it or not. It needs to happen. I know those who benefit from the current status quo will not see that conversation come to light, but my brother, it's a conversation that we really need to have. Resource allocation, practicing true federalism, as we have it here, as we have it in the United States. State, states have, they're in charge of their security. I know our guest tonight has just mentioned the fact that the police commissioners will report to the IG. The governors don't actually have control. This is not the case in a true federalism, my brother. We need to sit down, have that conversation where the chief security of the state, in truth and in spirit, will be the chief security of that state, and not someone taking orders from, like when a decision needs to be made, someone is waiting to receive orders from Abuja. That is not true federalism. We have come to a point where we need to sit down, look ourselves eyeballs to eyeballs, and tell ourselves the truth, and agree on how we're going to live in this house called Nigeria. Typical to when you're renting a house with a friend or a mate. You need to sit down. I've said it often, severally here. Sit down, discuss how we're going to clean this house, how we're going to cook, how do we mow the lawns, how do we pay the rent. That's the sort of conversation we need to have in Nigeria. For anybody to sit down somewhere and think, look, it's business as usual, no. We have outgrown that now. Our people are wiser now. A lot of consciousness has been awoken in our people, and something drastic, something positive needs to be done. For anybody to think, it's going to continue like this, they are living, it's either they are dreaming or they are living in La La Land. So that conversation must be had. I hope I've answered your question, Wale.
Thank you very much. You've thoroughly answered that question. And I know that Prof wanted to say something initially. So because in initial intro by Prof, he did, mention about that, conference. So Prof, if you got something more to add to what Elvis has said on that same topic, on that same question, please feel free to add what you want to add, Professor.
Hope it's not frozen.
Hello, Prof. Are you there?
Oh.
Prof, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, so I was saying that if you have other comments, specifically around that question that I put to Elvis that has answered, I knew you wanted to say something before, I moved to Elvis. Please feel free to add, whatever you think you want to add on that same question. Hello, Prof. Hello. Yeah, I think there is a bit of problem. So why yeah, Prof, are you there? Look, while we're waiting for Prof to sort out the technical issues, are you back now, Prof? Professor Akhaine, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Yeah. I was just asking you to quickly add a few points to what Elvis said on that, particularly reference to Governor Fayemi's comments.
Yeah, I wanted to say first and foremost, Fayemi represents the restructuring faction of the APC, the ruling party. And if it comes out to talk about devolution of power, it's understandable. And of course, ostensibly APC adopts restructuring as one of its major agenda. Hence the setting up of the El-Rufai committee in 2017. But I think that since El-Rufai committee has submitted this report since 2018, and I think that Fayemi is already responding to those dynamics, that we need to act on that report, and address the basic contradictions of the Nigerian states that we already know. States don't have, physical autonomy. Of course, there are, certain issues within the exclusive list under which the state cannot legislate and all of that. So, unbundling the exclusive list is one of them, and of course, having physical autonomy within the states, is one of them, which is also about what resource control is virtually all about. And having resource control is not deny the central authority any means of,
It's
Hello?
frozen again.
It's frozen again. Look, I'll put this to you, Vicky. Okay.
It's that.
Okay.
What I think that the state, can do. So asking for devolution is part of ramping up the pressure on the central authorities, to do the needful, and it's nothing beyond that. And devolution, of course, is one of those terminology you can employ when you're also talking about restructuring, and autonomizing the states, of the federation.
Okay, so right, following up to what you said, El-Rufai's committee and the report that was, and the recommendation that was released in 2018. Why has APC as a party, despite its many years campaign of restructuring, as opposition party, failed to deliver this fundamental reform? Okay, there's a lot of contradiction. In opposition, they spoke about restructuring, especially the elements in Southwest. That was their like national anthem: restructuring, federalism, true federalism, and everything. Why is it that in power now, the same party, form a committee? The committee came up with the recommendations, and they are in power. They are not in opposition. Why has APC as a party failed to deliver on one of these most fundamental campaign themes?
I think it's you've asked a very good question. The point to make is that APC is a platform of different characters who call themselves progressive. Different elements within the party not agreed on restructuring. I can give you this information. In a private discussion at Odion, Harry was quoted to have said, if the reason why you people want to bring me back as president is to restructure this country, he said, count me out. It was not hidden. And these elements still went ahead in pursuit of their own self-interest to feed the same candidate. So the point I'm making is that there is no equal commitment within the party on the issue of restructuring. And if you follow the debate, very, very well, most of their intellectuals, including Jega, Atahiru Jega,
it's Jega,
in his advocacy for restructuring, he, opted for gradualism, in a way that allows the cabal ruling the country to stabilize itself. So there is no commitment to restructuring on the part of some people from a section of the country. So I think that is one of the major problems. So because it boils down to rhetorics when you hear elements of the party talking about restructuring and the rest of them. Because even the Erufai who headed that committee, I doubt whether he's committed even to those 12 points that were highlighted in those reports. The issue of state police, revenue allocation, and beyond that, even independent candidacy and measure of some of the states, if they so desire. Some of the elements in that report. Then, of course, general citizenship, for the country, which is based on residency rather than on the basis of state of origin. So these are some of the issues, but they are not equally committed. That is the problem. Why despite you have a report compacted and it cannot be implemented, it cannot be taken to the members of the National Assembly who are predominantly APC, to initiate bills that you can amend and alterate sections of the Constitution to bring alive some of these points at issue.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Akhaine, for in that insightful information, especially particularly around the conversation around that was heard prior to president coming on board. So there's no surprise he has chosen not to show any commitment in any shape or form to any agenda about restructuring. So I'll move to Dr. Vicky now. As an advocate, strong advocate for women, and also as an advocate for socially and economically marginalized youths, both in Australia and Nigeria. There's a lot of talk about inclusiveness on this. And I'm putting this to you in terms of how inclusive can we be? If you still look at issues around gender inclusiveness and the sensitivity around gender equality, we're still far from it in Nigeria. Even when you look at government positions, cabinet, just have a look. Is highly patriarchal kind of order. So what is your take on this? As we're talking about, Professor said earlier that the fundamental thing about restructuring is a change. Fundamentally, it's a change. So if that is the mindset that we are approaching this, what sort of changes are you expecting in terms of gender inclusiveness in our polity in general?
You talk about change, you talk about mindset.
Yep.
And both are very, very important. Changing the way we see things, mindset, our mindset, the way we've already programmed our brains. We live in this culture and cut across Nigeria, with all different cultures. You see how women are being treated. You see how we don't really appreciate much about what we bring to the table. Now, when we talk about all these things that, Professor has been sharing with us, Elvis and yourself, that we've been talking about today, they are fundamental. They are very, very important. But we all have roles to play. As men come together to talk about things like this, there are different angles that we women look at it. So when we talk about change, the change and having and changing our mindset from the way we used to do it to the way we need to do it to make this work. Because whether we restructure or we break up, whatever we do, we need to start doing it differently, because there is a saying that we cannot expect a change if we keep doing the same thing the same way. So doing the same thing the same way, being, thinking that it's only men that can do it better, it's only this that can do it better. Anyone that brings something to the table, something great, something fantastic, something that can bless everyone, we take, rather than we look at the sex. Oh yeah, because it's a man who has nothing to offer. You know what I mean? So being inclusive, it's all about changing the way we look at gender, people coming to the table to offer something. What do they have? Do they have this? Are they able to add value to our discussions, to add value to what we are doing? Are they able to help us, bring our vision into fruition? So change and
Yep.
change in our mindset.
In our
Both
mindset.
are key.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Vicky. So, um, I'll go to Elvis now, and I was listening to Professor Banji Akintoye, just some few days ago. Professor Banji Akintoye is one of topmost Yoruba elders in recent years that has been campaigning for Oduduwa nation, and he's also made that case that other part of Nigeria should really go in their separate ways. As far as he's concerned, he said, if anything we're talking about restructuring, whatever, he believed that we've passed that stage, that, is just, the situation is past, sitting, you have advocated, on many occasions for us to really discuss about situation of things in Nigeria and be able to move forward. But as far as Professor Akintoye is concerned, as far as the IPOB leader himself, the Masi Kano, he believes that we passed that stage. So, what is your take? Do you think we still have opportunities as a nation to really address some of those issues, or honestly, do you think we've already passed the Rubicon, that any form of conference is just cosmetic approach, that we've actually passed that stage?
Yes,
That is what
Frontline.
the professor said. He said it's just a waste of time. We've passed that stage of any form of talk or conference, whatever. So, what is your take on that, Elvis?
Yeah, Wale, I believe I believe that there is an advantage or benefit in numbers. Nigeria as a country, I know we've got um, a population of over 200 million people. Even though there have been arguments on whether that figure is actually correct or not, but let's just take it on the basis that it is correct. I believe there's a lot of benefits that can derive to the Nigerian populace in the instance that we keep it together and forge ahead as one nation. However, in saying that, I also am of the opinion that we should explore, the inherent benefits in practicing true federalism. I mean,
Mm.
let each region develop at their own pace. If you're in a position, I recall, like, from history, I wasn't born then. I know when the likes of Nnamdi, Nnamdi Azikiwe and Paulo wanted independence for Nigeria. I know the North said they weren't ready. I think that was in 1957, where they were, these other leaders were ready to just move on and gain independence. But the North said, no, we're not ready yet. So look, through federalism, if you decide you are in the east or in the west or wherever you want to crawl, you can crawl at your own place, at your own pace. If the other guys want to fly like a rocket, like a jet, allow them to fly. There's no point, dragging anyone down. I believe, a lot of benefits will accrue to the nation. Like if we have that number, like we say, we're giants of Africa. It cannot be disassociated from the fact that we also have that population. We've got the resources, but let each party develop at their own pace. This is my view. Keep it together. Let each party develop at their own pace, and let the other party, who is not ready to move on, not drag the other ones down. Let each party have their own state police. Let like we have it even in the UK, in Australia, here in the US. Let the things that bind us together relate to the issues of immigration and national security, but every other aspect of government should be delegated to each state to handle on their own. They should be able to make their laws. Like if you go to the US, for instance, the laws you find, for example, in Chicago, maybe is different from the laws you find in Michigan, in New York City. Let each state make laws that are beneficial to their people, that are germane to and engendering growth in that state, and not lumping everything together, and and somebody sitting in the center there and deciding who gets what. I mean, it's really unfair that the region that contributes to the wealth of the nation gets little or nothing, whereas those who don't contribute anything are actually benefiting most from from the resources of the nation. That's really unfair.
It is.
So, my take is, yeah, let everyone develop at their pace. But if if that option is not there, if you want to break it, brother, yeah, like break it and let everyone. It doesn't have to be war. I know someone. I was listening the other day. Someone said, someone from, I think, Fulani background. I've forgotten this particular individual. I know he opined, he averred that a call for secession is a call for war. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. It's not a call for war. Allow people to have a referendum, as you alluded to last week, Wally, a referendum, and decide, do we want to be part of this union or not? Just allow it, and that is a fundamental human right of every individual. I mean, self-determination is a right of indigenous people anywhere in the world, recognized by the United Nations. So calling for a secession, of people saying, look, we don't want to be part of this union, is within their right. It's not a call for war. It doesn't have to be war, you know. So yeah, bottom line is there's still an opportunity there to have that conversation. But and the only way I see the country can move forward is let each party develop at their pace, and not somebody sitting somewhere and lording it over the entire populace and thinking, again, like I said last week, the rulership of that country is his birthright. No, we have woken up now. A lot of consciences, people's eyes are open. It's no longer business as usual, bro. The Euro, and that's why, if this scenario continues to persist, you have non-state actors like Nnamdi Kanu, like Sonnego, and many more to come. Actually, Dokubo, for some time I haven't heard from him. You probably will hear something, very soon. And and it keeps on and on and on. And what are you going to get in the end? So, whether we like it or not, that conversation needs to be heard. As Charlie Boy would say, our mumu don't do, and our people have realized that mumu has really do,
It's
my
done.
brother. I,
We're
Yeah.
tired.
yeah, it's done. Eyes
Mm.
are open now. We need to talk and have that uncomfortable discussion to see Well, yeah, do we need to keep it together? Does everyone need to go on their separate ways? But I believe there's strength in numbers, there's benefit in being together, and for example, negotiating with the West or other parts of the world, uh, I think will derive a lot of benefit if we keep it together. But if the only option, if the next best option is everyone go their ways, so be it. I mean, it really doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, I'm going to be a dual citizen. My wife is Yoruba, I'm Igbo, so I benefit from whatever happens.
Thank, th-
Yeah.
th- th- Thank you very much, Elvis. And so, our viewers, if you want to be part of this highly educative discussion, we've got our WhatsApp number displayed there. Please feel free, plus 6142769 2301. The number is displayed. Feel free to be part of this. Send your text message or your contributions. Prof, you just listened to Elvis Washukude, my dear brother. I'm sure you've got something more to add to what Elvis has said. So in your response, could you add that with this question as well? Is restructuring the only way out of socio-economic and political quagmire in Nigeria? So we're talking about, so I know you've got points to add in response to what Elvis has said. But in answering that, could you also put in together, in your response, is restructuring the only way out of our current situation? Because it seems that when people talk, there's so much emphasis on the need for us to restructure. Is it the only solution out of the current situation, Prof?
Let me begin with some caveats.
Okay.
About whether you have the question about nations, countries. One, countries are not permanent entities. They undergo transformation over time. You look at global history, you see some countries that have existed before and they no longer exist. And so Nigeria as a country is not a given. And it can be transformed. It can change. And of course, if you want to use the word which people don't like to use, Nigeria could disintegrate into new entities. These are possibilities. But I think that the basis of our discussion is that maybe we can find ways that are conducive to the peoples of this country as a basis for living together. That is it. And when you talk about restructuring, whether it's just the only way out of quagmire. And I think that there's a sense in which you can say it is the only way out. I remember 2 years back, I advocated what I call enclave paradigm. You have a husband who is not allowing the wife some freedom, of some initiative and all of that. Then each time the wife wants to go to the market, she has to ask for money from the husband and all of that. And once that is exhausted, that is the end of the game. So the wife learns to keep part of the money so that all of the time you don't have to go back to the troublesome, or naggy husband. That was, that's this a lighter way of summarizing my enclave paradigm. Since you have a federal government that is a central authority that is not willing to allow us the autonomous space to expand, to produce, and innovate within our own space, because there are so many strictures that don't allow that. So what do? You manage what you have within your enclave so that the center will begin to wonder what is really going on there. What is really going on there? Well, the Nigerian situation is so bad that even when you want to innovate within your environment, they create artificial structures in ways that you are immobilized. That is the Nigerian, dilemma. But I think that if that is the case, it therefore means that the only way out for now, is to restructure. And restructuring means that you have to alter, the ground norm, the basis of our coexistence in ways that can allow, the peoples of this country to actualize, their aspiration. And I do not see how you can continue this way. For instance, if you right now, there is deployment to the southeast of security forces, even when they have not been able to curtail Boko Haram in the northeast. So if you have a government, that runs the country as a colonial enclave, then how are you to allow for an atmosphere, for development? Right now, the government is so warped that, it has accumulated new set of loans for the country. In 2006, Nigeria escaped the debt loop under President Obasanjo. Right now, we are back to where we were in 2004 and 2005. It's even more than 32 billion United States dollars, Nigeria's indebtedness. The same administration went to Paris last week to ask for another $6.2 billion.
What?
The same administration asked the National Assembly to allow it, to appropriate money from dormant accounts. So you can't, the illogicality of the administration, it's so overwhelming that you wonder whether we are living in a different space, a country with the best of human resources. And so that's why we are saying the only way you can break away from these strictures is, by ceding autonomy to the federating states, so that you cannot have, what Shoyinka would like to call, I'm trying to look, search for the word now, some sanity zones, where people can run things the way it should be. So, but as it is today, it is not possible. It's not possible. Look at what they did during the election, before the 2019 election. The Chief Justice, of the Federation, Walter Onogan, was removed without following democratic procedures, without even following the rule of law, and the rest of them. So you have concentration of power in ways that allow for arbitrary expression of that power. And so if that is the case, there is no way you can have a conducive atmosphere of productivity in the country. And now, just for example, look at the problem of insecurity. We do know that over 80% of the Nigerian population, are involved in agriculture. That's the chief occupation, And now many of them can't go to the farms. The joy in Nigeria is that when you travel from Lagos to Akure, when you are coming back to Lagos, you can buy tomatoes on the road. You can buy bushmeat on the road. You can buy yam on the road. Today you can't find that, on the roads in Nigeria, because people can't go to their farms.
Wow.
And so if you then have a central government that is unable to perform the primary role of government, which is protection of life and property, then something has to change. That's the point. And the only way you can bring about that change is to restructure by ceding powers to the units in ways that they can, chart and plan their own, developmental process. That is the way it is, and that is why it has become very, very imperative.
Important.
And as every try to say, when you allow these processes, when you don't allow these processes to run their course, when you don't allow these demands, to be actualized, people have no other option than to opt out, from the uncomfortable union that we have in the country today. And let me also make this point. I think that it is in our interest as Black people, not just as Nigerians, to have unity. That our own flag should be flag of unity, not just among Nigerians, but among all Africans, in the context of global competition. Nigerian unity, is attractive at that level. But if they have a structure, that is holding down everybody, every nationality within the country, I think that we have to dismantle that structure. And again, there are smaller countries that are, that are forced, that are global players. Israel, for example, is a small country, but Israel is a global player. Singapore, for example, is a small country, but it's a global player. So it maybe, who knows, the southwest of Nigeria, where people want to go to the moon, might still lead Africa countries, out of relegation eventually. It's possible that Igbos of Nigeria who are technologically savvy can lift the continent, out of relegation. So we can't say when we are all cocooned, within a disconcerting Nigerian space. That is only where we can achieve, development. But of course, if we can remove these contradictions, if we can resolve them, by stretching, our constitution to accommodate for social justice, then maybe it's a better option.
Thank you very much, Professor. And you actually, you made reference to the accumulating debts. And I remember earlier on this program, that was one of the major concerns raised by Vicky in one of our earlier topics, that she was just trying to, in a way, try to understand why government will just continue to accumulate loans, with even some of those, in our words, joking on that it appears they don't even understand some of those contracts they signed, especially she was making reference to contracts signed with, Chinese government. And she was joking, probably the whole thing was written in Mandarin and they couldn't even understand the terms and conditions they were agreeing to before signing some of those, before signing some of those contracts. So are you worried, Vicky, listening to Prof now with, all this, new revelation about the government trying to get more debt? Are you more worried now in terms of Nigeria?
I am very, very worried. Because, I've said it again and again. You go to get loans that we can't even see what you're using it for, apart from maybe paying staff. You can't use loan to be paying staff. It's like where we are right now, if we're thinking as a businessman, things are not working and you keep going back to borrow money from the bank and the bank is refusing to give you more money, to borrow you more money. And then you're going everywhere to loan sharks to just keep getting money so that you can stay afloat. You can keep paying your staff members. You can't run a business like that. It's like you are in a hole and trying to dig your way out of it. When you find yourself in a hole, you need to stop digging. Because the more you're trying to dig to get out, what are you doing? You're not going to get out. You're going to be getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And that is exactly what I can see with the way things are currently in Nigeria. You ask them the question, what are they using the money for? What is those money that they're billions and billions and billions? These are money that our great-great-grandchildren will still be paying for. And there's nothing that we can see. What is infrastructure? Common electricity, they can't even produce. Water, we produce water ourselves. We produce electricity using generator and lantern and whatever that we've been using for years and years ago. We look after our own security. Professor, only a month ago, my siblings traveled down to Nigeria to bury my father. 1.2 million spent on security for 5 days. 1.2 million, only 5 days. We're not talking about a month, 5 days. So I was thinking, how are people doing it? You said it. When I was growing up, even before I left Nigeria 20-something years ago, 6 years ago now, traveling between Ilesha to Lagos, you find everyone there, go bush meat, you buy tomato, you buy yams, you buy mortar to pound your yam, you buy everything, to take home and, give to people in Ilesha, or when you're going to Lagos, you do the same thing. People can't even do that. They can't. because they don't feel secure. They might be doing their thing and then kidnapped. I was watching, and I think I posted that to you guys. I forwarded it to you guys, of a woman that was traveling from somewhere in the east to another part of the east. And then not knowing that the bus that she was in was owned or, put together by kidnappers. They took her and the others in that bus. It was a night bus. They took them into the forest and they beat the hell out of this woman and they killed. They were on the phone, Alaji. The family of this girl isn't responding. So what part of her body do you need? Oh, I need one eye and one breast and this and this and this. 3 of them like that. They had to do that too. Because her sister was able to pay for her, they released her eventually. After 2 days of starving her, she had nothing on. They took her clothes, they took her phone, and it was raining in the forest. She had all the blue eyes and everything. What kind of life is that? How many people can afford 1.2 million naira? Just like that. Now, we talked about this, was it 3 weeks ago now, Wale? When actually and talked about, the can you remind me?
Okay, Abraham Maslow's, you spoke about the hierarchy of need.
Hierarchy of needs. And when you look at the hierarchy of needs, what do we really have in Nigeria? What is it that we have in Nigeria? And we've talked about it now. So when being together, what is it doing for us actually? So if we talk about restructuring, if we talk about breakup, something needs to happen. It cannot continue like this. Something needs to happen. And one thing that you said, Professor, that I would like to actually talk a little bit about is for us to have African unity, African flag, which in principle sounds fantastic. And probably with a lot of work, it can happen. It can. But man, if Nigeria, as we are, mostly, we are the largest Black, Africans, that we are in the same place. If we can't get it together, it's either, oh, you are from Igbo, I'm from this, you are from this, you are from this. We're talking about one part of the country trying to take hold, trying to be the head, trying to, silence everybody else. It can happen, maybe, if younger generations are being educated about this. But the way our mindset is, something needs to happen, my brother. That's just my thought. It sounds good. I was when I had my 2 days ago, when I had a little get together, there was a guy there that came. He photographed me, and the first day I met him, and I said to him, you know what? You're a Nigerian and you're a photographer. I haven't seen your work, but I've just been introduced to you. I have an event. I was having an event then, about 4 weeks to that time, and I've already commissioned that job for somebody else, a Caucasian. I will give you that job because you're my brother and you deserve. You're talking about it. I listened to you, Professor, and I thought that is the mindset we all need to have. Because at the end of the day, when you give your money to somebody else, from a Caucasian, for instance, you are giving them power, and that power they keep using against you. But when you promote your home people and you add value to them, you are doing something for you that you may not know now, but you're doing. That's the way I see it. And this guy, when everybody was talking about it, that was one of the things he mentioned that really touched him, that wow, this is fantastic. If we all can change our mindset. And I've run businesses here, and I know the support that I received weren't from my home people. My people would travel 2 hours down to go and get the same thing done, whereby I have a business doing the same thing. but they would rather go and give that money somewhere else. So I'm talking about us doing the education, doing the talk, doing whatever to get our people to start thinking. When we're talking about unity amongst the Black, we're talking about us thinking about the next person, thinking about the next generation, and thinking about power.
Thank you very, very much. You've covered a lot in that, in terms of African unity, in terms of what you perceive as potential conflict in that process of even in Nigeria, speaking English and not being able to understand ourselves. By the time we bring in our Francophone friends and everything, is going to be more complicated.
Exactly.
But most importantly, you spoke about the need for empowerment, and I think many writers, they've written extensively about that, about the need for Africans to come together, to unite, and to really have that empowerment. When we talk about Chinese men today, in terms of the level of billionaires they've produced, it centers around the economic power. When we talk about the Jews and the economic power they control globally, is about them coming together and using that, and Americans, they do the same thing everywhere. I hope we start doing the same. Time is fast spent. I'll Before I go to Prof, I will have one particular question to Prof, but I will go to Elvis, so that Elvis, we've, I think for the about fifth time now, Shekau has been pronounced dead.
Yes.
The leader of Boko Haram. We're talking about Boko Haram here just last week. We heard earlier this week that there was infighting between another factional group that were trying to take over from him, and in the process he blew himself up. That was what was reported. So what do you think was the implication of that, in terms of security in Nigeria? So my take is that if all these years the government has not been able to curtail Shekau and Boko Haram, and we now have a faction, in my little analysis, that was able to overpower Shekau and his men, and in that process killed him. Are we not in real trouble if that is the situation now? So what is the implication of that? Ideally, that could have been, a good sign that at least maybe we could have some peace in that, northeastern part of the country. But what is your take in terms of implication for that? Should we be really worried about his death? Elvis,
Yeah,
are you there,
Wale.
Elvis? Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, please can you repeat the
Yeah,
question?
okay. Okay, let me quickly summarize. So, maybe about 2 or 3 days ago, we heard that Shekau, the Boko Haram leader, was killed in a kind of factional war between another terrorist group. They were they were fighting for leadership, and he was killed. Obviously, we've had this is about fifth or fourth times that previously reported that he was killed. So let's even assume he has been killed now. What is the implication of that in terms of the security in Nigeria, especially in the northeast part where we have a lot of terrorism activities going on? Should we be more worried now that in my analysis, we now have a more deadly group taking over? Because if they're able to run over him and kill him, there's possibility they are more powerful than the Boko Haram that we know.
Wale, look, there's probably gonna be if I don't know, it could be propaganda. I don't know. We've heard so many times the Nigerian army or the Nigerian government are winning the war against Boko Haram, but every now and then we still hear all the negative news emanating from Nigeria as to how Boko Haram is maiming, killing people, and even taking over territories, hoisting their flags. So, if indeed, the leader, is it Shekau or whatever they call him, is gone, you probably have a situation where another leader of Boko Haram is going to step into his shoes. I've also heard rumors of the fact that ISIS and all other terrorist groups coming from um, other parts of Africa are actually infiltrating Nigeria. So the Fulani headsmen we hear about today are not just headsmen in that sense. Some of them, as I hear, I don't know how far it is true, as I've read in the media, in the print media, are actually terrorists from other parts of Africa. I also understand that they may not be unconnected with the ISIS. So in that space, yes, we should be worried that all other terrorist organizations have actually found their ways into Nigeria. You not only have Boko Haram to worry about, you also have other terrorist organizations, regardless of whether the leader of Boko Haram is gone or not. The threat is still very real. It is there, so we should be worried.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Prof. So you've had Elvis comments in that area. Can you, based on your knowledge, and can you share with us the your own analysis of the security situation, and more specifically the terrorism and the Nigeria's ranking within the global terrorism index, which we are number 3 outside the most ravaged countries in the world. We're talking about Afghanistan, Iraq, and then Nigeria, number 3 in terms of the global index. What are the solutions you can prefer in that sense, in terms of those that fighting terrorism in Nigeria?
I think that let me quickly make a few points to whether reinforce what Elvis said or not. He didn't quite say. It's better to take with a grain of salt the intra-fighting between ISOR, the West African arm of ISOR, and of course Boko Haram, leading to the death of so-called death of Shekau. Every newspaper in Nigeria has carried that news. Even there's a response from the US to the extent that they don't just pay ransom to just like that any organization. But beyond that, I think that I wrote a book chapter titled Boko Haram Insurgency for a book that is coming out in Lexington Press in the US recently. And much of the analysis is that Boko Haram insurgency in the Northeast is surmountable, but there's no sincerity in the fight against insurgency in Nigeria. I think the greatest thing which everybody knows and they are afraid to say is that the incumbent administration is complicit, in the security dilemma that Nigeria is in. And if you follow how the private military company that was brought in before the 2015 election tried to decimate, the Boko Haram insurgency to the extent that the election could hold in the Northeast, and that changed immediately. A winner emerged, from that election, compounding further the security problem in the Northeast. Don't forget that some of these elements who are not in the current administration were ready to act as wager for the Boko Haram, when Jonathan administration was doing negotiation and all of that. So there's no honesty. Nigerian army, I think, given sincerity, have the capacity to overwhelm Boko Haram insurgents. And when you listen to soldiers who have been to the front, when they tell you what they encounter, then you begin to weep for this country. I'm sure you are aware of Major Rason Kuti, I mean Brigadier Kuti, who had to withdraw his forces from Konduga also when he was to confront the Boko Haram forces. He discovered that they would be outgunned, so he had to beat a retreat, and he was subsequently court-martialed. So the prosecution of the war in the Northeast is done on the basis of insincerity. And that is why we cannot get out of that dilemma. It is surmountable. And we can surmount that problem when new set of state actors come into the scene. That is what I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we really, time is really fast spent. I put this my last question, to you, and in answering that question, if you could just give us your last thoughts, for tonight, then that's where we wrap up, and then I'll go to Elvis, and then I will hand over the baton finally to Vicky to close the show. I'm quoting from your book, which you received from you when I visited Nigeria, in 20, when I saw you in 2016, at Lagos State University. In that your book, The Case of a Nursing Father, which was published in 2016, you wrote in page 90, you said, contrast that with the sufferings of our people. Over 70% live on less than $2 per day. Over 100 million of our children are out of school. Empty ivory towers and broken infrastructures and multiple social crimes, a raging insurgency in the Northeast, and the failure of 2/3 of the states of the Federation to pay workers' salary. The Nigeria condition is so bad that even corpses lying in the streets are further objectified by the refusal of state institutions to perform their statutory duties. That was a gloomy picture of affairs of a nation, Professor. So what has changed since you wrote the reference paragraph? Has anything changed? If you have to rewrite, that paragraph, how will it look now?
Well, I think nothing has changed. When I wrote The Next Anarchy, which is another book, and the publisher told me I should have retitled it The Anarchy is Here.
Okay.
So, and I think Nigeria is in a state of anarchy, and the social crisis have been aggravated, by the actions and omissions of the state, elites in the country, and really Nigeria is on the tipping point, and we hope that some brinkmanship can save the country. The kind of thing that you people are doing with Vicky O Show maybe can provide some solution for those who care for sources, in how to get out of the problem. Things are really, 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 really very bad, I must say. And the economic policies, are disarticulated. I'm not sure they understand what they want. They are trying to increase the fuel price now to 383 naira per liter.
Yeah.
If they do that, just imagine, the multiple effects, inflation, everything, and there will be no corresponding increase in the salary of the workers. Not to talk about peasant farmers who merely eke a living from the little they get from the farms. So the number of deaths in the last one quarter is almost close to about 2,000. In the last quarter of this year, there's a body now that documents fatalities in Nigeria on a daily basis. They call it Nigeria More. I tell people that if Nigeria were to be in the civil war, the deaths that we have recorded between 2015 and now, I'm not sure we'll have that casualty. probably we would have resolved some of the contradictions in the country. But it's unfortunate, that this is the way things are. But, leadership has a burden. That burden is that we should not give up. We should look for, viable solutions, to get out of the problems. And dialogue can never be enough. It's one continuous element of state building and nation building.
Thank you very much, Professor Akhaine, for your time and for your analysis. I will hand over to Elvis for his final word, and then from there back to Vicky. Bro, with your agbada, the man. So, what's the final word for tonight?
Wale, I'll just take it from where Prof, landed.
Yeah.
So dialogue, that dialogue, as I've always advocated on this program, we can't take it for granted. It can never be too much. We need to have that conversation. If we're sincere to ourselves and we need to see the unity of Nigeria sustained, it behoves on the leadership of the nation to actually provide an enabling atmosphere, a congenial atmosphere for that conversation to happen. Like Prof said, I am disappointed, but I still haven't lost hope in the fact that things can still, turn around. And the only way that can happen is if we look ourselves in the eyeballs, like I've said several times here, and have that conversation. The first step in resolving any problem at all is sitting down and having a conversation. Even nations that have fought wars ended up on a round table to have a conversation to see how they bring those wars to an end. So conversation. We can't say it, we can't overemphasize it enough. We need to really have that conversation and agree on how we're going to live in this house called Nigeria. Any other mindsets or any other thoughts around this will actually be an effort in futility. So, as Prof alluded to, and I agree 100%, we need to have that conversation to move this Nigerian ship forward, to get it sailing. Those are my final words.
Thank you very much. Dr. Vicky. You're mute.
You are muted, Vicky.
Oh.
That always happens. Had a great conversation, a great time with you, great minds, Professor Sylvester. We want to say a very big thank you for your time and for sharing and educating us today. Thank you so much. And we would love to have you back on our show. These are the things that we talk about, and we try to, bring some comical stuff into it just for laugh, and because besides that we'll just be so depressed. The book that you wrote in 2016, that you published in 2016, The Case of a Nursing Father, that was in 2016. I was in Nigeria in 2017. I was twice in that 2017. I came back in 2018. And I could see that the decline, it wasn't improving at all. It was just getting bad and bad and bad. I haven't been since 2006, 2018. I was supposed to be back last year. Of course, COVID happened. So I can imagine, then, what I didn't need any security in 2018, and this year everybody must have a security. This year you can't just go out without fasting and praying for safety, for whatever, you know. And that is the life that we live in Nigeria right now, which is making me, it's quite sad. But what can we do? You talk about dialogue. Elvis had always been talking about dialogue, even in relationship, husband and wife. We get time to talk about, okay, what is working, what is not working. But there are times, even when husband and wife do have such conversation, one wants one thing, one doesn't. And when you cannot come together and find that middle ground and find the gray area to say, okay, even though you want white and I want black, okay, let's try and find a comfortable place in between, not white, not black, but yeah, when we come together, we find that gray area. Um, and there are times that it doesn't work that way. When it doesn't work that way, what do? We say, okay, these differences is just too much. We can't keep banging our heads. We can't keep fighting over the same thing. For the last 60 years, it's the same story again and again. We need to do it differently. So go your way, I'll go my way. I'll find the same, another one that will help me out, that will buy into my dreams, that will make me or help me to grow to be what I'm created to be. And you go and find yours. I mean, there are times we get to that point. It's not like, okay, we want to fight, but I need my peace because I can't keep banging my head. I can't keep, expecting you to change. It's not going to happen. You have that spirit of entitlement, and you're not changing. You're not looking it from my angle at all. You want everything to yourself. Now I need to know what I want, and I need to go for what I want. I can't get it with you. Go your way, and I'll go my way. There will be times we need to get to that point. And with Nigeria now, when a professor wrote that book, Decades of a Nursing Father, he was talking about the part that Wale read. He mentioned Southwest, a part of Nigeria that the kidnapping and Boko Haram and stuff were quite raging at that time. It wasn't this part at all, not West at all in that book. Now, which part of Nigeria is not getting affected with all this? There's no part that we can point to say, oh, they're safe. It's like we've been rounded up. And we've said it again and again on this show. And we're saying it again, something needs to happen. And we can't keep waiting. That dialogue, if we're going to have it, it's now, yesterday actually. And when we have that dialogue, we need to have it at the back of our minds. It might not work. So if it's not going to work, we need to have plan B. And what's our plan B? I mean, conversation needs to continue. We need to keep talking. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, so panelists, thank you once again for joining and adding your voice to this conversation. We'll be back again next.
Can you see her, Vicky?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Wale?
clearly, yep. Clearly, yep.
Can you hear? I can't hear anymore.
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just about to round up. So it's been a great session.
I can't hear Vicky.
Oh. All right. Can you hear me now? Okay. So yeah, so thank you so much, Professor. We will get you back again when you have the time for us. Wale will definitely be in touch. It was great listening to you, and there were some of the missing lines that you were able to fill in for me. So I want to say thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Vicky, I can't hear you. Wale, can you hear her?
Yeah, she's about to close the show anyway. You're not missing anything, bro.
You're not missing anything. So in closing, I will just play something, a music put together for me for my birthday, for us to just dance away. I mean, we do that just to it kills depression actually, because you're exercising. So let's just do that as we say bye to our audience. Can you hear me?
Why are you, Vicky? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Not if you can hear me. Okay, I can't hear Vicky anymore. Yeah, Prof.
All right.
By the way, I was supposed to do this at the start, but only because I was sort of engaged. I was driving. I couldn't do that at the start. So better late than never. I'm doing it now at the end. I understand you are a prof in Lagos State University, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct, Prof. Yeah. So I'm also an alumnus of LASU.
Okay.
Just so you know, I had my first degree in LASU in sociology. I also got a master's degree in international relations and strategic studies. So I'm a great last white. I just wanted you to know that too.
We are LASU. We are proud.
Yeah, we are proud. Yeah, we are.
That is the new slogan. That is the new slogan. You didn't. That wasn't there when you were there. That's the new slogan. Fagbo who brought.
Okay, it's old school now.
LASU, so we are proud.
Thank you for bringing me up to date. All right,
Professor of
nice
enjoyment.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it will be back definitely. We love having you. Thank you so much. So let's just round this up. We'll see you another time. And to our audience globally, thank you for being on today. Any questions, send us an email, vickyoshow@gmail.com. Quite easy, vickyoshow@gmail.com. Thank you all. Let's listen to this and dance as much as we can. Come on, play.
Come on, join us as we celebrate somebody so special. Come on, Vicky O, CEO, the Global Achievers, TGA, Executive Director at Gippsland Life Skills Program Incorporated. Come on, Director, Mental Health Practitioner. At Vicky Omifolaji, Mental Health Specialist. Creator, Vicky O Show. I want in Melbourne, the Australia. Omawani Jesha, Nile Oshun. Aya Dr. Ladiji, Omifolaji. Come on. We love you so much and we celebrate you. None other but Dr. Vicky Omifolaji. It's time to dance. Lalubenjo, let's dance. Let's dance. Listen, Ginger, listen, Ginger, listen. Oh no, so now, okay, granny, and your name of it, okay, that's all Vicky, no, you just say, oh Lord, so now, only for love, okay, granny, Vicky, oh. And you need more feet of where Sani wants to get out. Sani wants to get out. Oh, Rochelle, Ricochet, Babalo. Sani wants to feed of where Allah, so don't walk the money. Okay, so down. Okay. God. Hey, you need more fit. Sunny want to get out. Sunny want to get out. Maulu, what
ayọ̀ mi o. Mama Victor Adé.
Wọ́n tún fi gbogbo
Mama Ọlọ́ládé. Lọ́sọ̀ ọjọ́ ìbí tó yẹ Olúwa. Lọ́wọ́
Ọlọ́run
òkè
tó dá àwọn òkè ìgbà mi. Ẹ̀yin ni mo fi ọpẹ́ mi fún.
Ọlọ́run tí ọkàn lè rà dúró. Àgbé ọ̀gá o. Ọlọ́run tí ọkàn lè rà dúró. Àgbé ọ̀gá o.
Ọlọ́run tí a kò lè dá dúró.
Mo kò ní forúkọ Olúwa o.
Àgbé ọ̀gá o. Ọlọ́run tí a kò lè dá dúró.
Àwọn máa gbé ọ̀gá.
Àgbé ọ̀gá o.
Ọlọ́run tí
a kò lè dá dúró.
ẹ ṣé Jésù.
Àgbé ọ̀gá o.
Àyà Dr. Lọ́rùjì.
A kò lè dá dúró.
Òbí Fọlájí lọ́yìn Jésù lógo.
Àgbé ọ̀gá o.
Ọlọ́run tí
a kò lè dá dúró.
ẹ ṣé Jésù.
Àgbé ọ̀gá o. Ọlọ́run tí a kò lè dá dúró.
Àjùbàrà Jésù.
Àgbé ọ̀gá o.
Ọpẹ́ yẹ
Bàbá.
Thank you, Lord. Ọpẹ́ yẹ ọpẹ́ yẹ
Bàbá.
ọpẹ́ yẹ
Elédùmarè aṣọ́re kárí ayé. Ó ṣọ́re bàbá oníṣẹ́ ìjòyè lọ́tọ̀. Kò má gbàgbé ẹbí ọmọ rẹ̀ rárá.
Ọlọ́run o.
Ọpẹ́ yẹ bàbá.
Ọpẹ́ yẹ
Ọpẹ́ yẹ bàbá.
nítorí yìí Jésù.
Ọpẹ́ yẹ
Adúpẹ́ Ọlọ́run fún oore tí ó ṣe látọdún tó ti kọjá o.
Elédùmarè aṣọ́re kárí ayé. Ó ṣọ́re bàbá ó tún ṣe ìjòyè lọ́tọ̀. Kò má gbàgbé ẹbí ọmọ rẹ̀ rárá.
Ọlọ́run ṣe o.
Ọpẹ́ yẹ bàbá.
Bàbá wa ọ̀run